Hello friends and enemies, it's been a minute since I did this video, so I hope you're excited. I do have some new things for you and some repeats of just reminders for how we can save money on our reading hobbies. Because listen y'all, books are expensive, manga is expensive, like books, it's not cheap. It is not cheap to be a reader and to want to own physical media or digital media at that. So I feel like this is an important conversation to have. This is something that I think just needs a reminder every so often, and it's time. I think it's been 2 years since my last one. So I figured we'd try a new updated version of how to save money on books and manga. So I'm going to give you some of my tips, some of my favorite things, and I'm going to tell you about different services that are also available. So first things first, I'm going to talk about my 2 end-all be-all apps / add-ons to my web browser that I think are the best choice I've ever made in my life. And these work on Goodreads, Storygraph, and all things like that. Well, one does not work on them, but the big one works on everything. So that app is Library Extension. You need to install this on your browser. I do not know if it works on mobile, but if you have a laptop, a computer, or any of that, or something you can install it onto, use it. Library Extension is a lifesaver. It allows me to look at a book. Let's say one of y'all recommend me a book in the comments. I will go look at that book, and Library Extension will load every single library that has that book in my vast access of libraries. I will talk about it where I pay for out of state and then how I have so many different library cards. But that allows me massive amounts of access to things. And sometimes it's as simple as a volume 1 I want to try or a new romance ebook release I want. I'm able to go get that because I can see quickly this library has it and I can just go put it on hold or check it out immediately. And it has saved me so much money over the years. I do have a tracker, which we'll talk about in my library savings, that like tracks my library savings. The other thing that I cannot recommend enough, if you like to read ebooks like I do, and you have a Kindle device and that's where your primary reading is happening, there are issues there with some of the stuff that's happened recently, I know, but if you like me are going to use that device until it dies, e-reader IQ is fantastic. I don't know if it works on other sites, I've never tried it, but e-reader IQ does allow you to save a book, track an author, a book, or a series, or any of these things, and get email alerts when those books go on sale. It'll show a graph with the price history of a book, so you can see if it has ever gone on sale or not, because ebooks can be expensive, and I think there's a two-sided coin to the cost of ebooks, because obviously, though they are smaller than a physical book, there is cost associated with storing them and housing them on the web in digital spaces. So, you know, I personally don't love to pay $9.99 for an ebook. If I can get one for $6.99 or less, I'm very much on board. So make sure you are using that. They will price match on Kobo. It may also be on sale on bookshop.org's ebook store. So make sure if you are leaving the Amazon ecosystem and you want to buy elsewhere, you are looking at that. But yeah, so you can track it there and then you can be like, oh, I read on Kobo now, or I read on wherever app instead, and go buy it there, because like I said, generally they do price match across the board when it's trad published books at least. So keep that in mind. These two though, my diehards, I get so much use out of them. Libby does do a better job now when you have multiple cards, I feel like, of telling you where the book is, but for this I like also being able to see like, oh, it's in Hoopla. And the wait time quickly. The other thing I want to talk about that is something that I think a lot of people don't realize is a good option, maybe, is the Barnes & Noble premium membership. This is specifically probably for my manga people more than anything, but if you read a lot of books physically and you like to buy new books, that premium membership is $40. But hear me out. And I don't work for Barnes, I have no association, but I have gotten more than my money's worth from it via manga and some of my physical books that I pre-order. They do periodic 25% pre-order sales, and your 10% stacks on that. So you're basically getting 35% off. Every $10 you spend, you get a stamp. For every 10 stamps, you get $5 off. I actually cleared my amount this year at the beginning of the year so I could see how much I earned through the year. I'm not going to touch it until the end of the year. I'm already at like $10. I think I actually will be at almost to 15 by the time this video goes up. But yeah, so I think this membership is a great option if you buy a lot of manga, because when they do the triple stamp sales is when you should be then buying new things. If you aren't pre-ordering, like the triple stamp sale is usually the best bet to buy a new manga, because I'm getting new releases that are $13 for $8. Like I'm able to pick up a lot of things that way. So I highly recommend Barnes & Noble premium membership, like I said, specifically for my manga people if you have a Barnes nearby or you're okay waiting for shipments, because usually the sale is both in store bookstore and online. But yeah, that's how I get all of my manga mostly. So I will spend $100 during triple stamps and get $15 back. This is where I say like this membership can pay for itself really quickly, because if you build up and save up to do a big buy during those sales, you could be getting $30+ back, and there's your membership already on top of pre-orders. So again, it adds up very, very quickly. So I highly recommend it if you are wanting to collect newer titles and or a lot of manga. The other thing with that I will note is if your order ships and you have everything in one order and you want to cancel something, you have to call them to cancel like one book off of it. So if you're just ordering like a bunch of books that come out throughout a time span and you don't have a Barnes nearby, as annoying as it is, order them individually and then you can cancel them if like reviews start to come in and the book is not good. So it just gives you another option. Now let's talk about the big thing, which is out-of-state library cards, which I think are the best option for most readers if you are into ebooks and digital books. I think out-of-state library cards are probably the most popular option, and rightfully so. If you are into ebooks or audiobooks, this option is unbeatable, honestly. First of all, before you buy a single out-of-state library card, I want you to go to your real in-person library. Please, for the love of God, they need you. They need to see us supporting our local libraries as well. So go in person, get your library card, sign up for Libby or Cloud Library, and use it. If you use your local library, they can justify more funding. That is how funding happens. So all of the out-of-state cards do require you to pay basically the equivalent of state taxes, usually for the card. And this is so great. You can use the library extension app to check if a library has books you want, or you can actually go browse their overdrive before you pay for an out-of-state card, which I highly recommend. Because again, not every library is going to have what you want. I've got two here that are my favorites, and I would say have the best selection. The other thing I'm going to say, if you're going to get an out-of-state library card that you're paying for, you need to, in some way, whether it's a note on your phone, I have a spreadsheet, of course, because I'm a spreadsheet girly, where you're tracking your savings from the library, and make sure you're getting about what you pay for the books. So for me, I pretty much always read more in cost than the membership costs. A membership would have to be like $200, I think, for me not to read more than it costs. But I read a lot. So that is also part of why I have so many library cards, because if you don't read as much as I do, which is in the 200+ books a year, 200+ manga a year range currently, you may not need this many. So first up, we have the New Orleans Public Library. I love them. This is one of my favorites. It is $50 a year. I think it's a great library system. They do a lot of great selection picks for new romance titles, and they do have a good selection of manga, definitely a lot more popular titles. If you wanted to read One Piece and you didn't want to do the Viz Manga app, they do have a good selection. You could read One Piece there and some other manga. And like I said, I've had great luck finding new release romances from the New Orleans Library. The other one is the Stark, Ohio Library. This one did just go up in price, apparently to $100. I will be continuing to pay for it because this is another one that I have had fantastic luck getting various books from. They also have a variety of manga. I was able to read through all of Abe Coon's Got Me Now on that library, and I've also been able to pick up other series of their shoujos and joseis that I was interested in via this library digitally. So I just think that's a really good option. It also includes Hoopla, which is very expensive for libraries, y'all. So that part of it also fantastic. Another option if you're just looking for ebooks and audiobooks, not really too heavy on the manga, would be the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. This one I think is $45 or $50. I don't remember right now, and I didn't go check before I started filming, so I'm sorry. But this is another great option. The other thing I just want to remind you is that if you live in certain states, there's a lot of really good co-mingling of libraries. I cannot say the word. I've tried 5 times and I keep butchering it. So on that note, if you live in Pennsylvania, you have access to the Philadelphia Free Library, which is fantastic. It was one of the first libraries I ever paid for, and then they took away non-resident cards, so I no longer have it. If you live in California, there are a lot of cards you can get also. Same thing for Texas. There are a lot of cards you can access if you live in Texas and have a library card already in your state. So just keep that in mind. Los Angeles does have a non-resident card, but you have to go in person to get that card, which is why I've never gotten it. I need to do that because I've heard the Los Angeles Public Library is fan-freaking-tastic, and I definitely am interested in it. Now, for my audiobook people, like obviously we benefit heavily by getting things like out-of-state cards, because an audiobook with a membership is $14.99. But there are places that do monthly sales and sales on the regular, so things like Libro FM, you really should be paying attention to. They have a monthly romance deal, they have a monthly YA deal, they do sales all the time. And if you've never joined, they have fantastic promos where you can get like 3 credits for $15 by signing up for their membership. They also do promotions where if you complete a challenge or a bingo thing, you'll get a free credit. They do this usually most summers, and they just did one for Valentine's Day. I highly recommend Libro FM. I love them. I love their app. I love what they do, which is support indie bookstores via your audiobook purchases. So using that to get your non-exclusives is a fantastic option. If you're gonna use Audible, I cannot recommend looking for the deals. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a year's worth of credits for $100 or 3 months for 99 cents and things like that, because I just cancel my Audible all the time. And I use those credits on exclusives that I can't get anywhere else when I need them. Otherwise, I try to rely heavily on Libro FM. So just keep your eye out and be ready to wait and be patient. I know that can be hard. The other app that I've not really used, but a lot of people like, is Chirp. Chirp does audiobook sales all the time, and I think you have to listen in their own app. But I think it can be a great option to get some really cheap audiobooks if you're needing them. And also a great option for some older series if you're wanting to get current on them. I will say I currently do not recommend Everand, formerly Scribd, whatever you want to call it. They have moved to a weird credit system, and I actually canceled my account in full with them because I don't like it and it's not what I want. If I'm going to spend credits, I want to be able to download the book itself and own it. Also, it's like the same price almost as Audible and stuff. So for me, it just doesn't make sense. It may make sense to you. Look into their structure and vet it properly before diving in. Another thing we got to talk about is Kindle Unlimited and Kobo Plus, because we don't talk about Kobo Plus enough here in the States. But Kindle Unlimited, what I'm going to tell you right now is, again, just like Audible, patience and get it on sale, y'all, or get someone to gift it to you for your birthday or Christmas or things like that, because that'll get you just a slightly cheaper cost. And I do want to note, there's a whole conversation going around about like, I'm going to read enough to cost Amazon money. That's not how KU work. No matter what, Amazon's getting their cut off the top of the KU subscription cost, right? So like it all goes in a pot. Amazon takes their cut. That pot gets divided amongst the authors whose books were read and had pages read to a certain amount, which is usually pennies or tenths of a penny per page read. So what you should be doing with your KU subscription is, I personally go off what the monthly cost would be basically, and I want to read by the end of the year book costs that would total more than my cost of the subscription. So I have a little thing in my spreadsheet I can show you right here where I do that. I'm like making the difference between a book cost to subscription cost, and ideally by the end of the year, or whenever I just do it yearly, by the end of the year that cost will equal the same. So yeah, keep that in mind. But KU is a great option if you read a lot of indie romances, and that's where they're at. And for now, I do think we have to meet indie authors where they're at. But I will say there are authors that are now going to be doing like direct to reader sales via BookFunnel. So do keep your eye on that, because I think we're going to get some good deals that way on ebooks. And then you own that book. They can't take it from you. It's yours. So that's fantastic news also. Kobo Plus, I want to highlight also because there's a couple of options with it. You can do an ebook option, and then there's an ebook and audiobook option. And there's quite a few books on there that surprised me, honestly, between the selections. But it's one that I definitely need to play with more and use. But I think it's something that we forget about in the States as an option, because Kobo devices are just not as popular here yet. The other app-based thing I'll mention, of course, if you're new here, or I guess you are newer to manga, there's the Viz Media app and the Shonen Jump app. Both of those, one is like $2.99 and one is like $1.99 a month or something. I don't remember which is which, but basically you can read 100 chapters of a manga a day. That's a lot. And you can read a lot of new and popular titles this way. I have been reading Let's Do It Already via the Viz Media app because I don't know if I want to collect it, but I do enjoy it, so I want to read it digitally, so I'm reading that there. There's also now the K Manga app, which does often do free weekends and things like that, where you can read a bunch of stuff, but it is more coined based, like a Webtoons or Tapas app is. But again, also great options for reading manga cheaper digitally than if you go through with buying everything physically. And then last but not least, obviously, we got to highlight Pango Books, Thrift Books, things like that. Like go look at your library book sale. If your library, most libraries do a book sale, you might be surprised at what you can pick up. Check for used local bookstores. I just found a gem by me recently, totally unexpected, with a ton of great romances. available. But, you know, focusing on trying to find some of those things used or buying secondhand from other readers is another fantastic option. But yeah, that is my updated how to save money on books video. Let me know if you have any questions down below. Let me know if you have any places you use to save money that I didn't talk about, because I would love to know. And, you know, again, we can buy the books that we want to read, and we also can, you know, I think it's just even more important this year and in the next few years probably to make sure we're putting our money where we want it to go versus perhaps, you know, not utilizing services available to us that are really important, like libraries. So let me know any of that in the comments. If you don't do any of that, leave me a big book stack emoji or a money emoji, because again, you should be saving money with this. Fingers crossed I saved y'all some money. You can do either of those things down below. I will have links to Be My Friend anywhere on the internet, I will have links to anything I can link to for you down there, so like the libraries I mentioned and stuff. Links to My Friend anywhere on the internet that I am, and I will catch y'all in just a few days. Bye!
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions. We'll get away. This is what we waited for.